The single thing that allowed me to scale my agency to $600,000 per month with absolutely no money in my bank was cold email. Now in this video, I'm going to be dumping all of the knowledge that I have on cold email into your brain so that by the end of this video, you're going to have no excuse to go ahead and set up all your own email campaigns and start generating unlimited leads for your company for basically free. Seriously, it's a superpower. So let's get right into it. So here is what we will be discussing in this video, and yes, it is everything. So feel free to jump around in this video using the timestamps, and definitely save this video so that you can come back and reference different sections. As you're going along your cold email journey, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I forgot how to do that. Come back to this video, go to the timestamp, and you'll be able to figure it out. I'm also gonna be linking to other videos within this video so that you can dive deeper on specific subjects that I'm not gonna be able to cover in depth in this video. All right, so a little outline of what we're going to be discussing during this video. So we're going to start with, is your offer even cold friendly? There's specific circumstances in which cold email will not work. So we got to make sure that you don't fall into one of those buckets. Next, we're going to talk about setting up cold email domains. Now you do not want to email from your core domain. So we're going to be talking about how to purchase those domains and how to set up the DNS records so that you don't end up in spam. Next, we've got to choose the right email provider. You choose the wrong one, you're going to end up in spam, you're going to waste money and have a bad time. So we're going to talk about some of the options that I recommend that you choose. Next, we're going to talk about some of the limitations that you need to adhere to while you're sending cold emails. If you mess up these numbers, you will end up in spam. We're going to talk about other ways to avoid spam, such as words that you can't use in your emails, such as domain reputation and server reputation. We're going to talk about list cleanliness. If too many emails bounce, you will end up in spam. Almost most importantly, avoiding legal action. There's a law that's in place that you need to abide to while sending cold emails, and I actually almost got sued for a lot of money because I wasn't adhering to these laws. So I'm going to teach you how to follow them easily. Next, we're going to talk about some sending software options, including some of my recommendations, some budget-friendly options, and depending on your goals, I might put you in a different direction. Getting email addresses. How to actually find people to send emails to. We're going to be talking about some of my favorite providers, databases, and I'm even going to show you how to get 8 million contacts absolutely free. But getting contacts isn't enough. You need to clean them. So I'm going to show you how to do that and what tools to use. Then email copy creation. How to write a good subject line, how to write a good first line, how to add personalization. All these things are really important in order to get cold email to work. Last but not least, I'm going to show you how to scale your email campaigns up to 100,000 emails per month, because no matter how good you are, this is a numbers game. All right, let's get right into it with step number 1. How do you know if your offer is cold friendly? So I run a lead generation agency and customers come to me all the time asking how to make cold email work for them. And the truth is it doesn't work for everybody. So if you're in one of these scenarios, cold email might not work for you. The first one, you sell low ticket. If your offer is worth less than $500, cold email is not going to be the best option for your marketing strategy. The other scenario in which you might not want to use cold email is if you sell B2C. For example, if you sell solar and you're just looking for people with houses, cold email might not be right because you're not going to be able to get large amounts of emails of people with houses. And if you send untargeted emails, you're going to end up in spam and it's not going to work. So in order for cold email to work, one, you need to be B2B. You need to be able to go into a lead database, filter them based on their industry, based on their location, and then you need to be able to sell them something that's worth a lot of money because it's such a numbers game. If you send 10,000 emails and you're only able to make $100, cold email is not going to work out for you in terms of financial investment. Some examples of businesses that work really well with cold email: B2B marketing agencies love cold email. Any B2B service business works really well. Coaches and consultants, this works really well as long as it's business consulting. Who doesn't work very well for? E-commerce companies who sell low ticket stuff. Doesn't work very well. Even if you can target the person, hyper target, say they're a business owner and they live in a certain location, you have a product to sell them, it still won't work very well if the product is low ticket. However, if you have a product that's worth $5,000 and you sell it to med spas, different story. Cold email will work for you. All right, let's move on to point number 2. Setting up email domains. This is arguably the most important thing because if you don't set these up correctly, everything else will fail. Now, you do not want to use your root email domain. So for example, So OtterPR is my core domain. We have 55 employees. We're communicating with prospects and customers all the time. And we do not want to put this domain at risk, because if it goes at risk, the whole company fails. So what we do to avoid this happening is we buy other domains. So instead of otterpr.com, we buy otterpublicrelations.com. We buy o-otterpr.com, e-otterpr.com. These are different domains that are similar enough so when someone receives the email, they will see and notice your brand name, they'll click on it, and you'll forward that domain to your actual domain. So for example, one of my cold email sending domains might be getotterpr.com. So you get an email from Jay at getotterpr.com, and then you're like, who's getotterpr.com? I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to put it in my search bar, getotterpr.com. As soon as I click go, it's going to redirect to otterpr.com, none the wiser. So you want to do this in order to protect your root domain. But these new domains have a low reputation because they're new and because there's no activity on them. So you need to build that reputation. And to do that, you need to warm up those domains. And I'll talk about that briefly in just a second. First, you need to purchase the domains. I don't care where you purchase them from. If you decide to use Gmail to send emails, you should purchase them from domains.google.com. That way there's a one-click integration to set up all the DNS records. It makes your life very easy. And if you choose to go the Google route, I have a video linked right here where you can actually learn step-by-step how to purchase the domains, set up the DNS records, set up the sender accounts, and get them warming. If you decide to go with office.com senders, I suggest that you use GoDaddy. GoDaddy makes it very easy to buy domains. You can set up DNS templates, and you can apply those DNS templates to all of your domains. And as you're scaling this, it's going to be really important to make it seamless for you to buy new domains, set up the DNS records, and implement new sender accounts quickly. So I recommend either using Google Workspace, so admin.google.com, where you can purchase the domains, and domains.google.com and manage all of them there. That's if you're sending with Gmail. And if you decide to send with Office, you can purchase them with GoDaddy, keep all of your domains there, apply DNS templates, set up your senders in Office. There's a lot of options for places to buy domains, for places to set up email sender accounts. I recommend sticking with one of these two. There was a big fiasco with Zoho about 6 months back, where everybody was setting up emails with Zoho because it's $1 per month per email, very affordable. However, eventually they shut the entire thing down. They stripped people's Zoho accounts, canceled their accounts, didn't give them their money back. So for now, stick to old reliable. Google and Office have been allowing cold email for a long time, and I don't see that changing in the foreseeable future. And it's going to come back and bite me in the ass. I just know it. All right, now let's talk about sending limitations. Once you set up your domain, you set up all your records, you set up your sender accounts. How many sender accounts can you have per domain? Can you just buy one new domain and set up 1,000 sender accounts just so you can save a few bucks on the domains and make it simpler? No. Leading experts such as myself will recommend using either 2 or 3 sender accounts per domain. So if I want to do j@otterpr.com or j.feldman@otterpr.com, that's 2 senders attached to that one domain. Now I can do 3, but you have to keep the sending volume per domain under 100 per day. These are the limits that I recommend, and if you stick to them, you will not break the limits, you will not go to spam, and these campaigns will run for as long as you're obeying the rest of these rules. So what does this mean? If you're using 2 senders per domain, 50 emails per day per sender account. If you're using 3 emails per domain, 33 emails per day per sender account, as long as the maximum doesn't go over that 100 limit. Bonus tip, I recommend that you put images on every single sender account. Whether you're using Google or Office, you're allowed to upload an image that represents your Google account. If you do this, it'll add an extra layer of credibility, and people will see that image, and they're much more likely to interact with an email that has someone's picture on it. While we're on sending limitations and we're on setting up domains, let's talk a little bit about warming. So you bought a new domain, it's got no reputation. You set up a new sender, it's got no reputation. If you start blasting cold emails to a list of 1,000 people and say 20% of them mark you spam, you're automatically going to get flagged as a spammer, and that sender account and likely the entire domain will be flagged, and you're not going to be able to use it anymore. You need to protect this from happening, and the way that you do that is through warming. So you set these emails up with a warming tool. There's a lot of them. I'm going to give my recommendation in just a second. But these warming tools will connect to your email account, and they will automatically send and receive emails that are going to be marked as important. They're going to be replied to at a specific rate. And if you do this for long enough, eventually you build up a reputation score. And if you keep this running, you're able to stay out of spam for the long term. Now you want to warm at a really realistic rate. I like to warm up my warming. So starting at 2 emails per day, increasing by 2 emails per day until we get to about 50 emails per per day. We want to hit that rate at which we're going to be sending emails normally. We want to look human. That's the key here, look human. So we're going to ramp up our warming from 2 to 50 at a reply rate of 30. Now, the tool that I recommend using for warming, I'll just say it now, is Instantly.ai. It integrates warming and sending into the same platform. You get unlimited warming, and it's a really advanced warming tool. There's a lot of different types of warming tools out there. The reason I recommend Instantly is because they've got a lot of really cool AI features, including human-like scrolling and other features that actually mimic human behavior so that we don't get caught. Google and Office, they're not dummies. All right, now let's discuss point number 5, and that's avoiding spam. Now, this is probably the hardest thing for new cold emailers, because if you mess up something, you're going to end up in the spam box, and you might not even know why. So follow these simple rules, and I promise you're going to land in the inbox every time. The first thing is avoiding spam-like words. So there's tools. The one that I recommend is mailmeteor.com/spam-checker, as you can see. And here you can write your email copy, and it will highlight words that it regards as spam. You want this to be as clean as possible. Remove anything that is highlighted in red or orange. Sometimes you have to get really creative with the copy here, but if you send words that contain spam-like words, they're much more likely to identify that email as spam, and even if they don't send it to the spam box, sometimes emails appear with a giant yellow or red flag on it and saying, this email looks suspicious. Should we mark as spam? And almost every time that recipient will say yes, and then you'll end up in spam. So we want to avoid that, and we want to avoid those big ugly flags. The next thing is records. So this goes back to setting up your domains correctly. You want all of the right records in there. The important ones are DKIM and DMARC, and if you really want to get fancy, you can use a tool like dmarkreport.com to monitor all of your DMARC reports for all of your sending email campaigns. Now this is pretty advanced, but you can create a DMARC record for free. Now, in order to create these records, you can use free tools like easydmark.com, where you can create a DKIM, you can create a DMARC, and then just put that in your domain DNS records. If all of your records aren't perfect, you will end up in spam. So one thing that I recommend that you do when you set up new email accounts is you go into Instantly, and another reason, this is why they are the best tools. You can check all of your email records at once by clicking this Test Domain Setup button. And as you can see, it's checking all domains for DKIM and DMARC records. And if any of them are wrong, it will highlight them in red right under that email campaign. So you can see all of mine are set up correctly. Last but not least, one of the most important things for avoiding spam in the long run is not getting marked as spam. If you get marked as spam too much, your whole domain reputation will suffer. So the important things to keep in mind for sending cold emails is that you want them to be relevant to the person you're sending an email to. Think from their perspective. If you received that email, is that something you would want to receive, or is that something that you would mark as spam? If the answer is you would mark it as spam, they're likely going to do the same, and if you get too many spam reports, your whole domain is going to be fried. So the copy is not only important, but the audience is going to be very important. That's also the reason that you need to clean your lists before sending emails to them. If I give you, or you buy for $20 a list of 1,000 emails from me, and I hand you over the Excel sheet, you upload it into your sending tool, and you start emailing those people without ever checking for them, 50% or more will be invalid. I almost guarantee it. And if you get too many bounces from your email provider, those are bounces back to your server. Google knows, Office knows. This is very bad for your reputation because it's a signal to them that you purchased your list. So you absolutely need to clean your list before using it. Too many bounces, you get too many spam reports, your domains will be fried, you will end up in spam. All right, I'm going to link several videos down in the description about how to avoid ending up in spam. Very detailed videos, so feel free to watch all of those, bookmark them for after. All right, next, and arguably also the most important, which is avoiding legal action, avoiding going to cold email prison when you're sending emails. So there's a law in place called the Can-Spam Act. This law allows us to send cold emails, but it has certain restrictions on what we can do, what we can say, and certain things that we need to include in our cold emails. Now, I'm not going to spend 20 minutes talking to you about this Can-Spam Act. If you want more info on it, it'll be linked down in the description for another video that I did. But the basics of what to do here. So as you can see from this email in my Instantly account, we've got a couple of things that you're going to need to have in your email. The first one is a mailing address. So the Can-Spam Act mandates that you have an address in every single cold email. Now, if you're worried about an address, you can set up an anonymous PO box and use that address. The other thing that you need to have is a way to opt out. So some people get creative and they say reply stop to opt out so that they don't get a ton of unsubscribes. Now, I recommend just using an opt-out link. This will collect people that have actually unsubscribed, because the last thing that you want to do is email the same people over and over again that are trying to opt out, but they can't. Make it easy on yourself, make it easy on your recipients, add them to an unsubscribe list, and I promise you, your life will be easier. Again, the last thing that you want is some angry person receiving 3 cold emails in a row for you and reporting you to the cold email police and giving you thousands of dollars worth of fines. The other thing to keep in mind with the Canned Spam Act is you can't bait people. It has to clearly be a marketing email. You can't say, we have your mother for ransom, just to get them to open the email and then hit them with a marketing message. That's another way to get in trouble. So just follow the rules, send them an email that they actually want to receive, use an address, use a real name, use a real business, and use an opt-out link. That's fast and easy. All right, number 7, choosing a sending tool. So software is one of my favorite things to talk about. There's a million options out there for cold email. I've probably used 80% of them. I try all of them just for fun, just to see what's out there, what's new, what's cool, what's hip. And I've eventually come to the conclusion that there's only a few tools that you really need. Some of them are just much better than others. The first tool that you're absolutely going to need and that you should pay for is a sending tool. A tool that's actually going to import your leads into, connect your email addresses to, and deliver those emails. The tool that I use exclusively for this is Instantly.ai. And if you want to sign up for this, I do have an affiliate link down in the description. If you found this helpful, use my affiliate link. I make a couple bucks. But the reason this tool is so good is because, 1, it's infinitely scalable. What do I mean by that? Now, as you can see from my campaign in this Instantly account, we have 100 emails linked to a single campaign. If this was any other tool, we would need 100 campaigns. Instantly will rotate through these inboxes using AI so that we can send 10,000 emails per day. You can't do this with any other tool. The other reason why this is so powerful is because warming is integrated right into it, and it is the best warming and the best sending tool that I've encountered so far. No other tool does this. Not only that, they're innovating faster than every other tool. They now have Lead Finder, where you can actually get leads from this tool. They've got really advanced analytics that I love. They've got a Unibox so you can send, receive, and link automations to your cold email. All these people are people who responded. You can mark them as interested or use AI to mark them as interested and then trigger automations based on that happening. So I can't say enough about that tool, but there's lots of other options out there. This might not be the cheapest. So if you're looking for some alternatives, you can check AppSumo. They have some really cheap tools as well. And there's a link down in the description to AppSumo so that you can look around and see if there's anything that you might be able to get a lifetime subscription for. Again, link in the description. All right, number 8, getting email addresses. You need to figure out who to email. They need to be good people. They need to be valid emails, or else nothing else will work. So this is oftentimes the most expensive part of cold email, because good data ain't cheap, and you want to invest money into good data. So there's a lot of different databases that range from cheap, low quality data to really expensive, really high quality, nuanced data. You're probably going to fall somewhere in between. So what I use is a tool called Apollo.io. I'm not going to speak too much about Apollo.io because honestly, I don't have a strong recommendation in this department. I do have 8 million free emails that I'm going to give you if you wait until the end. But for data, you're going to find a provider that you're able to export as much data as possible, and you want it to be as clean as possible. And that can be a hard combination because, for example, in Apollo, which I've been using for 3 or 4 years, so we're on a grandfathered plan, we're able to export a lot of emails. But if I were to sign up for ZoomInfo, which is a much more expensive tool, a lot of people pay $40,000 per year to use ZoomInfo, very accurate data, but you can't do unlimited exports. So sometimes it's like, what's the point? How do I scale my cold email campaigns if I can't export the amount of emails that I need to export? So sometimes it takes manual work. Sometimes you have to click a bunch of buttons in order to get the emails out that you want. You can work with VAs or people on Fiverr to help you get data, but I do recommend you pay good money for good data, because you need to send good emails to relevant people, and you're going to want to personalize those emails as much as possible. So in order to do that, you need to know their industry, you need to know their city, you need to have their LinkedIn profile. All these things are usable data points that when we're crafting our email copy come in very handy. So without recommending a single data provider too much, I will recommend a couple places to start. Seamless.ai is one of the cheaper alternatives for databases. Now, their data isn't going to be as clean. They don't have as many options as Apollo, but it is a more affordable solution. If we're looking at Apollo.io, you're going to see it looks affordable on the surface, but most of these plans don't include very many exports. So it will require a lot of manual work, a lot of VA work, but if you want to export a lot of data, those custom enterprise plans are going to run you quite a bit of money. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an enterprise customer and you're like, screw it, I just want the best, ZoomInfo has been known to have the most accurate data, but it is very expensive, so be prepared to pay an arm and a leg. Now, if you want free data, I do have 8 million data points scraped from social media that I'm giving you absolutely free. There's going to be a link in the description to join my free course and community. As soon as you join, you'll get an email to download them, and you can access them right from my community anytime that you want. And if you do want to use Apollo.io, which is the one that I use, I recommend it because they have some features that others don't, like buying intent filters. You can see what people actually want to buy. This is a very powerful feature. You can filter by only verified emails. This is something that not a lot of data providers offer. And you can use this thing called signals. Apollo.io has information on their data points, like they recently won awards or got recognition, they recently had a new partnership, they recently had an office expansion. Seamless.ai isn't going to give you things like that. So if any of those signals sound relevant to you and your offer, it might be worth spending the extra money and using Apollo, and my affiliate link in the description. All right, cleaning emails. So say you download a 10,000 contact list from Apollo or the 8 million free contacts that I give you. Do you just import them into Instantly and start sending away? Absolutely not. Take a second, find an email cleaning tool and clean those emails first. There's a lot of different tools out there for cleaning emails. They all work exactly the same. They'll ping that email and see what comes back. They'll come back one of 3 ways: valid, risky, or unknown, or bad. Now, you only want to send emails to good emails, valid emails, ones that ping back and say, yep, good, this is a real email. Now, in some cases, you might want to also send emails to the risky ones because that can be like 40% of your emails. Most of the cases, these are catch-all emails, meaning like hello@otterpr.com. Generic emails that go to someone in our company, but not necessarily a specific person. These can actually work pretty well, or they won't. If you have a lot of data and your data is really valuable to you, then you can go ahead and send to only the good emails. If you're spending a lot of money and you don't have that much data, you may also want to send to the risky, unknown emails. That's going to be up to you. Recommend go ahead and trying it in a separate campaign, seeing what happens. Now, in terms of tools to use for cleaning, I use Million Verifier. I don't have a partnership with them. I pay them a lot of money, but I will say it is a highly affordable email cleaning tool. We buy lots of credits at once, so they give us a great deal, and it spits out the information in a format that's really clean and easy for us to just upload into Instantly. So here's what it looks like after you clean a list. You'll have the good, the risky, and the bad. And as you can see, the good is usually about 56, 61%. Risky can be 36%, 24%. So it can be a lot of data. So you may want to use the risky, you might not. For example, we split ours into different campaigns, and we have a campaign for only the good emails. And this is from our really strong domains. And then for the risky ones, we actually use a separate server, separate tool that we don't own. But that's ninja stuff. That's only in my community. Now, if you want to save a few bucks, I always recommend hopping on AppSumo, seeing what their latest lifetime deal is. As you can see here, we have Rion Email Verifier for $79 one time. Now you have an email cleaning tool. So this is another alternative that you might want to think about. This thing's got great reviews. It's an awesome email cleaning tool. So always head to AppSumo, try these things out. There's a direct link to Rion down here in the description. You can go ahead and grab that tool if it's something that you want to use. But always clean your emails before sending to them. All right, now let's talk about also the most important thing for making this all work is actually what do you say to people via cold email? You've got all the other parts right. Now, what do you actually say? What do you write? What do you write as your call to action? What do you use as your subject line? How do you get people to open the email? What do you ask them to do? We're going to talk about all of that right now. All right, so taking a look at my Instantly dashboard right now, I've sent about 20,000 emails. We've got a 75% open rate and almost 4% reply rate. These are awesome numbers. So first I want to touch on what these numbers mean. So open rate. This is the percentage of people who actually opened your email. The factors involved in getting that email opened are: 1, is your email landing in their inbox? If it's not, you'll see less than 40% opens. If you have less than 40% opens, chances are you're in their spam or your subject line just sucks. The goal is to get to 60. Honestly, 60 is a really good number. That means your data is good. That means your subject line's solid. Most people are opening that email. That's a good sign. I'll show you how to get to 75 in just a second. The next thing you want to look at is reply rates. So a good reply rate is about 1%. If you've got a 1% reply rate, that means cold email is probably working, assuming that people aren't saying go F yourself in that email reply. So always check the replies and see what they're actually saying. But if you're getting 1% positive replies, you'll be able to make this work. I'm going to show you how to get that way above that. We're getting about 3.7 on this very simple campaign that's not that targeted, that's not that personalized, just because we upload so much data to it. Now, if you're using a lot of links in your cold emails, you might want to monitor your link click percentage. We turn that off because every tracking code that you put in an email is more of a chance for that email to go to spam or to get flagged. So for example, when I know a campaign's working, in some cases, I will turn open tracking off and I will send emails only as text only, not HTML. And this will prevent any additional code from being added and will increase your deliverability rates. All right, so let's pop the hood and see what this email actually looks like. We're going to dive into some of the components and the important things to discuss to get that open rate and then get that reply rate. So as you can see from this cold email, we have a lot of split tests, which I definitely recommend that you do. Make multiple variations to see what people are actually responding to. And if you go into analytics, you'll see that there's a pretty significant difference. For example, F got a 35% open rate and only a 1% reply rate, whereas A is getting 73% opens and 2% replies. This is a huge difference. If I didn't run that split test, I might not know that. So let's go back into sequences and show you some of these elements. The first is the subject line. One proven one that works really well is question and then their first name as a variable. People feel a responsibility as humans to answer questions. I don't know why we have this, but if you ask them a question, they feel obligated to answer it. So question, first name. But this works best when you have a first sentence that provokes curiosity. So our first line, I hope to discuss a media appearance. Of course, I'm going to click that email. So I don't know what your offer is, so I can't offer up a ton of different examples, but start to think and start to experiment because this first sentence is all they're going to see, along with your name and the subject line. This is called the first line, and you can use AI and personalizations for this, but you really don't need to. All you need to do is come up with something that's going to provoke curiosity and get them to open that email. So a strong first line and a strong subject line are the key recipe here. And as you can see, step A has a lowercase q. Step B has an uppercase quick question. So there's lots of different little things that make it feel more human, that get them to open it. Our brains are complicated, so definitely continue to experiment and see what works. So some elements that you should have in every cold email are some social proof. So we're the #1 PR firm in the US, according to Clutch and G2. This is true. More social proof. Clients we represent, including Alibaba. This is true. And more social proof. Results that we're able to get for people, including Netflix, Oprah, Forbes 30 under 30. Are you interested in any PR? So this is a simple question. Are you interested in PR? It's open-ended. It doesn't ask them to do anything. It doesn't ask them for a meeting. Our goal here is to get a simple response out of them. In this case, a yes or a maybe or not at this time. If they respond, that's a good signal to Google that this is a good email that people actually want to receive. And that reply then gets sent to our team and we go follow up with that person, give them a call immediately. A lot of people ask, should we put a link here? Book a call with me now. My answer is yes, if you don't have a built-out backend, someone to actually go call that person as soon as they say yes. If you're going to send them a templated reply a day later, for God's sakes, include a calendar link and have them just book on your calendar. It's not going to be as good as sending that good reply signal and as an open-ended question that gives a simple answer. But if you don't have a backend to handle all that, then just include a scheduling link. So really, cold email is pretty simple as long as you follow some of these rules. Keep it open-ended, add social proof, a little bit about what you do, keep it open-ended, focus really hard on your first line, focus really hard on your subject line, and you'll be just fine. Now let's talk about sequencing. It's usually not enough to send somebody a single email. Oftentimes you want to send someone as many as 7 to 9 emails. Now remember, the more emails that are in your sequence, the less people that you're going to be able to contact. So for example, if I have 3 steps in my sequence, which I do here, that means I'm using up those 50 emails per day per sender to send 3 emails to the same person instead of 50 emails to 50 different people. But I do recommend at least a 2-step sequence. People need a reminder. People are busy. You may have hit them at an inconvenient time. So for that second email, we keep it really simple. We leave the subject line empty, which means that it'll go in the exact same thread, and we include a link here. Sometimes they just want to book. So we'll put the link, let them book. Now steps 3 through 7, honestly, that's up to you. Experiment, put it in the same thread, put it in a new thread, send them an offer, send them a different offer, experiment. See what you can do to get them to open that email, to get them to reply to it. But I recommend using at least 2 steps. And for us, we use 3. All right, so that's everything that you need to know in order to have a successful email campaign. But you need to be able to scale that email campaign to numbers that actually make sense. And I made a really helpful video on breaking down the numbers, exactly how many domains you need, how many senders you need, how much it's going to cost you, how many emails per day. So cold email is a numbers game. My goal for you is to get to 100,000 emails per month. And this is very doable. All you have to do is repeat the process for steps 1 and 2. More domains, more senders, have a sending tool that can support it like instantly, and then load up those senders onto your platform, warm them up, pile them onto your campaign until you're generating results that make sense. Now remember, it is a numbers game, but your numbers need to work. You need to have a high ticket product. You need to send enough emails. Those emails need to have strong enough responses, and your results need to output to more money than you're putting in. Our cold email campaigns cost us from somewhere around $2,000 or $3,000 per month for all of our emails, all our senders, all our tools, all our softwares, but it makes us hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. So this will work. This will work for you. Now I encourage you to experiment and definitely join my free course and community so that you can access all of my videos that dive deep into each one of these topics so that you can master cold email and you can scale your business to $1 million today.